Okay, so obviously today was a good day. I think if you can, so there was a free, like it went out to everyone, that kind of outlined that's like the, not trade plan, but just kind of like yeah, I guess it was a trade plan for what could happen, what we thought might happen. It turned out what we thought might happen is what happened, but it's important to know that it's not always going to be like that. So you also want to have contingency plans, right? Like if this, then that, so that you're reacting to what the market's doing instead of predicting it. We got a little lucky today, I guess. So this is gonna be probably the easiest review of like 9 or 10 trades. We ended up 10-1. I lost one spy trade in the middle of the day, but it all kind of started with the same sort of thesis, which is, or not the same sort of foundation, which is structure and levels, right? Those are the two most important things you can have. A lot of times, if you don't see a setup or you kind of don't know what to do, you're probably using your levels and you're not using structure, right? And then the other thing too is making sure that you have as many different data points as possible. That was huge today. So I always have SPY and ES going at the same time, and I'm flipping back and forth between them, or I'll have them both up on the monitors, because they're the same but they're different. But they have different like ways they're important in the price actions. For example, they might react to a gap that exists in SPY that doesn't exist in ES because it happened overnight, right? So you're gonna have a gap there, whereas you wouldn't have it in ES. Or you might see a weekly level that exists in ES that doesn't exist in SPY, and so if you're in SPY, you might wonder why all of a sudden your play stopped going down or whatever, and it's because there's a level there that you weren't seeing. So the foundation is structure, levels, and making sure that you're using both ES and SPY when you're trading. The next part of that is just making sure that when you see monthlies, I'm going to give you three. When you see monthlies, which are these red ones here, right, monthly levels. When you see structure, that's either going to break out, retest, or re-enter, or conversely, if you see any gaps, right? Like, so this gap here, for example, is a good one. This little gap in the hourly NES. Those are all magnets for price action. So you know the price action is going to have to either start or resolve at one of those places through the day. So that's hugely helpful because it shows you where things are going to be going and where the action is, so you know where your catalysts are. So start with this morning, right? It's kind of the big one. So here, I believe it was, let's see, what am I on, the hourly? Okay, so this morning, right? Yeah, it would have been that one. I'm going to switch to the 15 for a second. So this morning, just after the open, I saw that we had a rejection here before the open, right, on what was the structure that we created. And so I immediately knew when I saw that rejection, right, because you're seeing that sort of rounded topping happen. I didn't get in until probably right about here, right, like 15 after. I knew that they were going to be going down. And for me, I'm thinking, okay, if they're determined to go down off this structure, there's two places they can go, right? Well, three technically. They can go the weekly, they can go the monthly, or they can go to the bottom of the structure. I played it safe, and I think I actually exited at the weekly and got like 60% on those. But you can see here they went to the monthly, which we actually said in the Yeet that they might do. Because one thing that I've noticed is when you have these points in structure that are kind of like this, right? Really, it's triangle, right? It's a descending triangle, right? And I don't care what anyone tells you, descending triangles are bullish. they always bring out, like, how often do you see it go down from a descending triangle, right? Like it always pops out and goes above level. So when I saw them come down for that monthly, right, that was one easy pickup for points. And then I saw this wick, which the wicks are important too. I saw this wick. That told me when I saw that wick and then that next green candle that they had done their testing to the downside, right? Because that's a definitive wick off of that level. It's a little bit dicey to get in there, but I really like what I saw with them hitting it to the T. So I knew that they were going to try to do one of two things, right? They'd either test the weekly but they had too much momentum going for it to just be a weekly test, or they rejected the channel, tested the monthly. Now they're going to retest that channel. So again, you got to look at it all like cycles, right? Like the cycle here would be rejection because they want to test the level. They pass the level test, so now they want to try to get out. So in here, just watching to see if you actually get the momentum to get out. And once you're out, it's a whole new ball game, right? Because then we're going to see where our magnets are. And our magnet here would have been this monthly level. So I know that on the outbreak, that they're going to try to test that monthly level. So I'm in these calls now until they hit that monthly level. Again, a cycle. And now I'm going to kind of chill for a minute, right? Because they've got this level they can retest here, right? This white weekly level. They could come down and retest the whole trend. I don't know what they're going to do. So wait for a minute and see what they're going to do. And you can see on the hourly, right, they come back up and they retest it perfectly, right? So at that point, I'm thinking, okay, they've tested the monthly. They failed it, but this is as far as the retest is going to go. Again, the same wick. Notice this wick here, right? Remember this guy? Now we're seeing the same thing with this guy, right? So showing the same kind of wicks, which means that they're on to the next. I guess the way I would put those is that they're like, it's like business wicks, right? Like they're trying to get on to the next shit. So you get your business wick. It's business time. And then you could also tell that they're what? Flagging. That becomes obvious. So I hop into calls there because I'm like, okay, they're blowing past this monthly. They're flagging. One way you could look at that is eyeballing it, right? You can see the rise in points roughly here, right? And then the rough rise would have been to about there, to that weekly level. So here, I just let the topping out of the candles kind of tell me what to do. And then, okay, this is a little bit more involved than I thought it was going to be. Right, so we see we're topping out there. They can't hold the level. Now, this is important too. When you see that they can't hold the level, right, like they're not getting momentum, they seem to be flagging, but then this knife's under it. Another thing to remember is that when there's a lot of space between levels, so here you've got 21 points between ES, right? So you know that they're going to defend that hard. They always get defended hard. So they fall through the level. So now I'm in puts here, right? Quick put scalp. I think I said our target was like 5503. I want puts to that 5503 level. And then I hang out for a minute because I'm still on this 15. And I notice that they're bear flagging, right? So they're bear flag. This is way more involved than I thought. So they're bear flagging. So now I'm like, okay, where's the bear flag going to go magnetically? It only has two options. One, you can stop at the weekly level. So we got out here. But the logical one on the bear flag is that they're going to go down and do what? Test this level here. They're going to test our structure, right? That's exactly what they did. I got inputs thinking they would go straight through the structure. They came up, back tested, and then went down for our last one of the day. Just looking at it from an ES standpoint, right? I threw a lot of things at you, but here's the important ones to know. All I'm doing is watching for what the next checkpoint or marker is, right? Whether that's a monthly level, to a lesser extent a weekly level, or to a greater extent a piece of structure, right? And then I'm watching the pattern that happens within that level. Okay, they're flagging underneath the monthly, so they're going to flag up and test some more weeklies, right? And then I see they peter out here, they come down, they can't hold the level. So now I'm in this until we get to the next level that's monthly, and I see that there's flagging, so then I'm going to go ahead and take that down. It's a really, really simple system of knowing what your key magnets are, and then watching the patterns unfold in the key magnets. You have to have a little bit of patience too. And also with this method too, you have to like really take your profits. I left like 400% on the table, but I didn't even care because, right, I got out when I was supposed to get out. So when you're comparing it to SPY, SPY's pretty much, it actually ran pretty similar today. There's not too much exciting stuff to say about it. What I will say is that SPY's trend was broken out of a lot earlier. You can see here this white dotted line was actually a previous weekly. So actually, I think I did switch to SPY too for the trade because this is now a target, right? It's a target on the flag, and then you know once they don't hold that, I tried the trade. And you're also going to look for symmetry too, like they form head and shoulder, and like intraday head and shoulders and stuff all the time. Things happen really symmetrically. You can see there I had a bear flag that failed and then came back down for that last trade. But yeah, that's just a really basic way of kind of looking at it, knowing your structure, right? So let's clear the deck really quick for tomorrow. All right, so we're back in our channel for tomorrow. Whoops. Let's see. I feel like no matter what time of year it is, there's just always college women's softball or little league baseball on. Neither of which I care about. So sorry if you can hear that in the background. We're back in our channel. We've survived the monthly. In the after-hour session, they're going to test one of these two things. So I'll be curious to see, right? If we have a breakout of the channel tomorrow, I do not expect us to come back in because it'll be a second breakout. So I'm watching to see if they want to test this to the upside. And eventually if they want to test this to the upside and even get that gap closed right there, right? So if we were to break out of this channel, then I'd be incredibly bullish, right? Because it's another rejection of the channel when we have upside magnets. If we were to stay in the channel, then I'm just working it down really simply, right? I'm watching for bear flag breaks, right? That take me through the monthly. You know, just simple shit, you know what I mean? There we go. Just simple shit. Nothing too complicated, right? Watching them to come down. And then two, if we stay in the channel, what you're going to want to watch for is that the bottom of that channel, right, becomes important because once you're back in it, then you're going to want to explore it. So I expect them to round this out a little bit if they don't just immediately pop out of it because they didn't get back in here for no reason. So again, if we get out of this, I have pretty high upside targets, right? Because they don't do anything for no reason. If we stay in this, then I'm looking for them to test some of these lower levels. So like these monthlies come into play. So that's how I'm looking at it. Really just kind of following what's going on this channel. Let me see if there's any other. Let's see if there's anything else that I see really quick. No, that's pretty much the main thing is the main thing. And then just watching for symmetry. So you see we had a little bit of static here. Right. You can see we had a little bit of static there. Right, so that's, you know, roughly symmetrical. So this gets choppy again too. So just like kind of knowing where your chop zones might be, right? Like it's kind of a little choppy area between these. So to the downside, right? Like let's say we do get that downside we talked about. Maybe don't expect it to be knives down, but instead expect it to be a little bit of chopping around as they re-explore that channel. Excited to see what happens. Later.